feel like sports sports analysts and sports commentators need to realize that they're supporting actors at best. They're not the star of the show.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I got to stand up for my king, LeBron James, because Stephen A. Smith, he got a rude awakening because I think it was during a timeout or something too. LeBron walked up to him. If you haven't seen the video, I highly recommend. I think we could find it and put it on here, but if not, highly recommend going and finding it. LeBron just walks up to Stephen A. and gives him a little piece of his mind while, again, during a timeout in the middle of a game. And the next day, Stephen A. talks about it on, it was on First Take or on his podcast?
It's on First Take.
It was on First Take. Okay, well, yeah, so Stephen A. addressed it on First Take and said that it was regarding the comments he had made about Bronny earlier in the season. And I see a lot of people coming at LeBron saying, he's just that Stephen A. is just doing his job. And I agree. I mean, I'm in the same field. I know Stephen A. has to make a living. LeBron is one of the biggest names in the game. But to me, I'm seeing it from LeBron's side of like, I think LeBron's telling Stephen A. Smith this because he thinks something of Stephen A. Smith. Like he thinks more of Stephen A. Smith than he does about a lot of these other reporters or people who are pundits who are talking about his son. Because again, the name Bronny James generates clicks. Let's just be honest. He is the son of LeBron James. So there are a lot of people who are going to talk shit about him. But LeBron doesn't expect that from Stephen A. because he just he knows,
Yeah.
like at least that's the way I see it. I'm interested to hear what you think about it.
I'm going to see this from 2 point of views, right? Because I'm going to see this from, first off, I feel like we should talk about the actual altercation in and of itself between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith. I have no issue with LeBron confronting Stephen A. Smith about what he said. Stephen A. Smith himself should have no issue about LeBron confronting him for 2 reasons. One, you've invited athletes who, if they ever have an issue with what you said about them, to talk to you about it. Because you also said that they can find your number, as well as you're at these games. You're at these professional games. They can see you courtside. So when you then hear, so when Stephen A. then says that, like, hey, it was a weak move for him to press him, stop it, Stephen A. That's corny as shit. Because you are the same guy that went on First Take, or you are the same guy that went on your show to say that LeBron's people in the past have tried to contact you behind the scenes that you weren't trying to hear it. So which one is it? So when he tried to handle it, his issue with you privately, you said you didn't want the phone call, you didn't want the conversation. But now that let's keep it up. Now that he presses you in public for something publicly that you said that was a little out of pocket, begging for LeBron James as a dad to stop this, when he does that courtside, you don't have no leg room or right to say that that's weak. You don't. Regardless of what you said, how you stood on business is corny. Then now to do a whole media tour, basically calling LeBron weak, even though whenever the very first take episode happened since the incident, you were damn near about to cry, talking about, I don't know why he has an issue with me. I was completely stunned. I didn't have anything to say. I know I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it came across as. And then now you're going on your podcast. You're going on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. You're going on Fox News, basically crying about how LeBron pressed you courtside of an NBA game. Like, that's the things we're talking about here. We're not saying that, like, yes, we're saying you need to have accountability, but at the same time, like, you also just need to, like, that it looked really nasty, bro. Let's keep it a buck. It looked really nasty because his specific comments about Bronny, right? I have no problem with people critiquing Bronny, or matter of fact, critiquing Braun about how he's handled this whole Bronny situation. I feel like there's valid criticisms. I'm not a parent, right? So take what I say with a grain of salt or don't care for it at all. I don't care. But I feel like there's valid criticisms to how LeBron has like handled the situation with Bronny from the perspective of I think it's really dope that Bronny and LeBron are playing with each other. But whenever you tweet things like, hey, I'm watching the NBA right now and Bronny's better than half of them, and then you also kind of not weasel, but you maneuver away for no other team should draft him at all and that he should only come to the Lakers, you're putting a big target on his back. And I think that's less to do with how Bronny feels about it and more to do with about him. So I think there's a valid criticism to be made about LeBron and how he's handled this situation, in my opinion. But to go on national TV talking about I'm pleading with you as a father and all this stuff while having Bronny's like bloopers in the background, Bron has every right to feel away, regardless if you think he's in the wrong or not. And I don't think Stephen A understands that. You can't hide behind journalistic integrity when you do stuff like that. That has nothing to do with journalism, bro.
Yeah,
Pleading
because I mean,
with
let's be
him
real
as a
here
father,
too.
that has nothing to do with it, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, again, let's just be real here. The only reason they're talking about Bronny James is because of the name Bronny James. Are they talking about any other second round picks on First Take ever? No,
No, but
never.
I'm gonna push back. But I'm gonna push back with you on that. I'm gonna push back with you on that. You're right. Nobody ever talks about Bronny James as nobody talks about second round picks at the way they talk about Bronny James. You're absolutely right. Bronny James does not become a second round pick if he doesn't have that name. That's my only thing. I'm with you, but he can't have it both ways. You can't get into the league because of that name. Because let's be honest, that's how he got in. Because he had that terrible accident, heart attack that was terrible, right? And I have sympathy for it. But if he was any other player, he does not become a second round pick.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you can't
hey,
have it. You can't have it. You can't. And I do think the way Bronny has shown flashes of being a quality NBA player. But not every second round talent is afforded that luxury that he has because he has the name Bronny James. And I'm not blaming Braun too much for doing that. But you cannot have it both ways. You cannot say that nobody is talking about any other second round pick like Bronny, but not reflect and notice the fact that if Bronny didn't have that name, he would not be a second round pick. He would not be a draft pick at all, based on how his college and high school situation turned out.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's a fair criticism, and I mean, we've talked about that even when Bronny was drafted. That there was always going to be that, but I mean, there's always nepotism in the NBA. I mean, people they get you in, and I really don't see the big difference between being drafted in the second. They didn't use a first round pick on him. That would have been crazy. But like the second round pick where they're picking, it's a flyer basically. This would have been the same thing as taking him as an undrafted free agent and putting him on the G League, because that's exactly what he's doing. He's playing in the G League. So like there's no reason to be talking about this kid because there's no impacts. He's not doing shit anyways.
I hear you, but again, but when you name, it's just naivety, bro. Like when you name him LeBron James Jr., when you have him play basketball, when you draft him to your own team being LeBron James, this is what comes with it. This is what comes with it. And to now like act victim is a little disingenuous, you know what I mean? Because I'm with him in how he feels. He has every right to press Stephen A if he feels that way as a parent. But like I just think it's weird, man. Like you doing this. I don't know. Again, I'm not a father, so take what I have to say with a grain of salt. But like, it's just weird. Imagine if you're working at a company, right, and you see the CEO like press somebody for saying something to his son who also works at the company, but he wouldn't do that for anybody else. That's weird. That's really weird. Like I get it, it's the father, but I don't know. That dynamic is just I don't know. I don't think it's best for a team, and I think we're seeing why. This, but again, this is just how I feel about it. I feel like it goes to my point. I feel like this has become a little too much about Braun than it is about Bronny.
Yeah, I think it's fair, but I don't know. On this and this one, maybe that's just the Glazer in me, but I'm sticking LeBron on this side, man. It's I don't know. like I said, I think I understand where he's coming from. It was more from a father, more of a personal standpoint of why he pressed Stephen A. So